South Africa's police force is splitting into rival ethnic factions. New evidence shows us that behind all of the superficial and sensational headlines we constantly see in the mainstream media, various Zulu, Indian and colored networks within the SAPS are now turning the country's law enforcement machinery against one another in a ruthless struggle for control over what has ultimately become arguably the most corrupt and least efficient or competent law enforcement agency on the entire planet. Over the course of the last week, our research team compiled all of the facts so we can bring you this video, telling you the full story of what is actually happening with all of these factional battles within the SAPS and unraveling the entire cluster, bringing you a clear picture of what is actually going on and how all of this is going to end. Over the past several months, we have on this program extensively covered the drama unfolding within the South African police force. We recently highlighted how arrest warrants had been issued for 2 senior intelligence officers following the testimony of the KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi and others before the Mandlanga Commission. Yet, in a shocking turn of events, Mkhwanazi himself then came forward to claim that these arrest warrants had been issued with the deliberate intent by someone in the National Prosecuting Authority for the purposes of obstructing justice and protecting the corrupt fat cats at the top from actually being investigated at all. Now, the latest developments over the course of the past month seem to suggest that what we are witnessing is not any attempt by any hero or clean person to actually clean up the police force, but rather a massive factional war driven by ethno-regional politics and political loyalties. You see, initially, when the KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi made his sensational allegations last year about corruption and political interference and organised crime within the police force, he was virtually overnight elevated by the mainstream media to the status of a national hero. The story they served up to us was that our hero had finally arrived and that he was this brave and incorruptible policeman who was prepared to break open the entire rotten carcass from the inside. Afterwards, however, so much has come to light that makes it appear that he is actually just as corrupt as the people he is accusing, and that he is in fact merely taking part in a massive power struggle within the SAPS. For example, serious allegations have emerged that Mkhwanazi was personally involved in the illegal torture on a private game farm, and also that members of Mkhwanazi's task team received several bribes from their own suspects. Furthermore, as we reported on this channel earlier, after Mary de Haas, a University of KwaZulu-Natal researcher and violence monitor and human rights activist, made complaints about financial wastage and resource misuse by Mkhwanazi's own political killings task team, Major General Johan Boysen testified that it was indeed the case that there was major corruption and wastage of state funds going on within Mkhwanazi's own task team. So for us, there is no reason to allow ourselves in any way to be shaped along here by the mainstream media's hero narrative. But let's be honest with one another. A lot of people were indeed swept up within this mainstream media narrative and developed a sort of hero worship for Mkhwanazi, only to end up with eggs on their faces when more information came to light that painted Mkhwanazi in a very different light from the clean as a whistle hero the media tried to sell to us. Hopefully this will enlighten a lot of people on the fact that you should never trust the heroes the mainstream media is trying to sell you. But in order to understand the true dynamics of what actually is going on within the South African police, we have to take a step back all the way to 2024. This was the time when the leader of the National Coloured Congress, Fadil Adams, who also serves as a Member of Parliament, submitted a complaint to the Investigating Directorate Against Corruption, better known as IDAC, about what he alleged are irregularities within crime intelligence. You see, his original complaint focused principally on Major General Nozipho Madondu's transfer to crime intelligence and the allegations that senior officers, including Khumalo, had facilitated that transfer despite her allegedly lacking any required top-secret security clearance. And so, on 29 October 2024, he laid charges against Dumisani Khumalo, Lushaba and Nozipho Madondu at police stations in Cape Town and Orlando, Soweto. The latest revelations show that SAPS initially refused to take the matter further, saying that Adams's allegations were based on rumors, and it was only after the complaints were turned down by the police force that Adams proceeded to take the matter to the National Prosecuting Authority's Investigating Directorate Against Corruption. And so, what began as a complaint about one officer's transfer soon developed into something vastly more extensive. But here's the troubling part. A supplementary statement attributed to Adams himself and known simply as A1 was used to help testify the expansion of the investigation. Testimony before the Madlanga Commission has now raised the question about how this statement even came into existence, with some MPA officials now reportedly believing the statement could have been fabricated. Adams was supposed to appear before the Madlanga Commission this week, but his testimony could not proceed. All of this leaves us as citizens of this country with a highly disturbing question. Was Fadil Adams's first complaint used in good faith to investigate genuine corruption, or was a limited allegation expanded into a weapon designed to neutralize the senior police officers that were themselves investigating the criminal networks embedded within the police force? The entire investigation could be compromised if the supplementary statement is proven to be fabricated. But there is another deeply uncomfortable dimension to this conflict that has now been raised openly before both Parliament and the Madlanga Commission. The possibility that the battle tearing apart South Africa's criminal justice system is in and of itself the product of ethnic and regional political loyalties. You see, the complaint originated from the most expressly ethno-nationalist and ethnically specific political party in our entire parliament today. And keep in mind that Adams himself has spearheaded another campaign alleging the marginalization and underrepresentation of coloured South Africans generally and specifically within our law enforcement agencies. Moreover, now you have Mkhwanazi on the other side, with Khumalo and Madondu, three senior Zulu police officers with particularly strong operational connections to KwaZulu-Natal and specifically the political Killing Stars team on the one side, and what MK Party parliamentarian Vusi Shongwe, who is a big supporter of the Mkhwanazi faction, recently described as the Indian cabal on the other side. At the center of this alleged group is suspended Crime Intelligence Deputy Head Major General Feroz Khan, who himself has recently been suspended from the police force on charges of obstruction of justice arising from an alleged attempt to pass a businessman carrying unwrought gold off as an undercover police operative. Shongwe linked Khan to IDAC investigators Brian Paraichi and Sunil Beluchun, as well as, of course, former IDAC head Andrea Johnson and several other figures whom he alleged are all part of the so-called Indian cabal. Shongwe's central allegation is that because Khumalo moved to marginalize Khan within crime intelligence and Madondu was positioned to assume some of his functions, Khan is now retaliating by using IDAC investigations and prosecutions to remove Khumalo, Madondu, Mkhwanazi and their allies in the Zulu or Zuma faction. But beyond the immediate ethnic conflicts, in the broader scheme of things, what we have here is Mkhwanazi heading KwaZulu-Natal centered operational faction built around the political Killing Stars team and the crime intelligence. And in the process, he is challenging entrenched national networks centered in Gauteng and who are working hand in glove with an ANC government that is increasingly becoming alienated from the formerly dominant Zuma faction that now form the MK party, and of course also the Zulu people in general. When Mkhwanazi made his allegations public last year, he was absolutely heroed by the mainstream media as a type of political savior to all of us and fighter of corruption coming to rescue the South African police from state capture. Since then, however, allegations have surfaced of Mkhwanazi being involved in illegal torture operations on private game farms, and the private forensic investigator Paul O'Sullivan, on the other hand, has also revealed that he is in possession of several affidavits from members of Mkhwanazi's political killing stars team, in which they admit to accepting bribes from their own suspects during investigations connecting to the University of Fort Hare. This, of course, has substantially complicated the original media image of good versus bad, of Mkhwanazi as the unimpeachable savior, an image that we here at the Willem Petsche Group were not afraid to challenge from the very start. You see, in a video released nearly an entire year ago, even before all of these latest developments came to light, we released a video on this channel highlighting the reality that even the available evidence at that time suggested that Mkhwanazi was just as dirty as those he had accused. But despite the inevitable criticism that we faced from those who seemed unable to see anything past the mainstream media narrative, we never shy away from telling you the full story with all of the facts as it is. And we never shy away from exposing uncomfortable truths, as is evident now and as has been vindicated now by the latest facts that came out, years before the mainstream media actually have the guts to do so. That is precisely why, in a time when the credibility of traditional media outlets in South Africa is collapsing, we are emerging as a new authentic alternative that can actually bring you the story and the facts as they are. You can of course support us in this important work by becoming a patron of the Willem Petsche Group today, simply following the easy steps on the banner below, and sign up and help us in this great task in order to get a media out there that is not captured by some political or ethnic agenda. But back to the report, ultimately we are going to have to face up to the reality that there are no good guys in this fight for control over the SAPS, and that what we are witnessing in front of us is a corrupt to the core institution that has long failed to fulfill its most basic constitutional duty of protecting us ordinary South Africans. In the short term, there may be some detrimental consequences of this factional war, as this internal war will most definitely further paralyze policing, compromise many investigations, and place many innocent lives in danger. But in the longer term, there is positivity. The exposure of these competing networks of political factions may finally destroy the illusion that safety in South Africa can in any way, shape or form be entrusted to one enormous, centralized and politically controlled police bureaucracy. Ultimately, there is no way a police force could work efficiently where over 80% of the entire budget is earmarked for salaries, and where there is one general for every 169 non-commissioned officers, almost 20 times the general to troop ratio of any first world police force, as we have demonstrated in an earlier video. This is one of the most imbalanced ratios in the entire world. Even other third world nations such as India, by comparison, have roughly 5,000 police service officers providing senior leadership across policing structures comprising of about 2.2 million personnel, which is of course a ratio of around 1 to 500. And now, as the factions continue to increasingly expose one another's secrets and corrupt dealings to the world out there, we South Africans are being shown precisely why communities must develop stronger local policing from within the community, private security and community-controlled safety structures. There is no doubt in any of our minds that the collapse of public trust in the South African police has its dangers, but we have no doubt in our minds that this will also end up creating the political space necessary to replace this absolutely broken, corrupt, and extremely incompetent centralized police with forms of law enforcement that are more accountable and genuinely invested in the communities they are supposed to police and protect. In a recent video, we highlighted the extent to which SAPS is really already falling apart through a large-scale internal conflict involving corruption and organized crime. So much so that it threatens to completely paralyze the force. You can check out our previous report on this by clicking on this link appearing on your screen right here. And if you watched this video all the way to the end, we want to thank you for the gift of your time and for the fact that you are the ones actually participating in this fight to get the truth out there and change the narrative to something that may end up bringing about change for the better in South Africa. Do let us know in the comment section if you are one of those. Thank you again. Remember, if you want to become a patron of our channel, it's very easy. Just follow these easy steps on the banner. Goodbye and God bless.